So welcome everyone. My name is Muhammida Muhajir. I'm the Director of Strategy at WaxPrint Media. We are a digital marketing and communications agency based in Accra, Ghana. And so, yes, I'm really excited about this panel, just really, always looking for opportunities to inspire the diaspora to come back to the continent. And, and we have someone here on the panel from Trinidad today. So I won't, just speak about Africa, but, definitely just going back to our home countries and developing developing entrepreneurship and the ecosystem is really, really important. So welcome again, everyone. So I feel like what's happening right now is like a reverse brain drain, right? You saw in like the 80s, 90s, people were going outside. They were rushing to get to the West to make their fortunes, right? Now, second, third generation, they've seen what the West is all about, and now they're coming back to the continent to, start businesses. And Kevin, I want to find out, are you born and raised in Trinidad? Have you lived outside? What's the story?
Yeah. Hi everybody. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I've been born and raised, lived in Trinidad my whole life except for university years where I spent a few years in Jamaica. But yeah.
Okay. So great. I think a few of us, I see Diallo. Are you tuning in from DC, Diallo?
Yes, I am tuning in from Northeast Washington, DC.
Okay, that's great. So we got to check in from DC. We got to check in. What city are you in, Kevin?
I'm in Port of Spain, which is the nation's capital.
Okay, all right, that's great. I see Viola up there at the top. Viola, welcome.
Hi, I'm here from Accra in Ghana.
Okay, that's great. So we can just kind of jump right into, with the speakers that we have on the panel, and as others come in, we'll have them join us. So just looking at, coming back, I feel like I get so many calls, on a weekly basis about how, to start a business in Africa, right? And there's so many different things. I think that that's something that you can't figure out before you come, right? It's something that you have to get here and kind of sort yourself out and see the lay of the land. So Viola, just talk to me a little bit about the business that you do, where you came from, and just how you kind of we'll do it briefly, and how you kind of set up your business to where it is now.
Okay, so again, hello everyone. Thanks Muhammida for inviting me to be here. Yeah, so I'm from Toronto, Canada, born and raised, moved to Ghana about almost 2.5 years now. When I first came to Ghana, I worked in fashion over in Toronto. I worked for Burberry and a few other brands. And so I came to Ghana and I started, oddly enough, I started a shea butter company where I was exporting to global markets. And so that was going well. I was living in Accra. The team is set up in the northern region of Ghana. And so when I came back to Accra on a visit, I heard of an opportunity at the Kempinski Hotel. They were building a Versace collections store, I should say, so franchise. And I went in for an interview, got the position probably in a week and opened the store. So, it was a learning experience for me because I'm used to a corporate structure where there's a buyer. Anybody from, the West understands that there's an allocation team, a distribution team, marketing. It's just a full network of people running one company, such as Burberry. In Ghana, that didn't exist. So all of those heads, I had to be that head. And it was great though, because I really stretched myself. And it's also an opportunity working with developers that may not be totally familiar with formal retail structure. And so, worked there and handed off the store to a very, very well-equipped manager and went back to the north and worked on my business, which is called Woven. So woven
When
is
you
a
say the
design.
North, maybe just, explain that a little bit. People might not know what that is.
Yeah, so the northern region, the upper side of Ghana, it's if you can think of like a savanna, think of not really metropolitan, more serene, peaceful, not heavy traffic, small communities, small towns, maybe different religious presence, just a beautiful, beautiful area, mostly hand craftsmanship throughout the entire region. Well, for most of part of the region, whether that's textile weaving or basket weaving. Yeah, so the North is just, to me, it's completely different than Accra, which attracted me to it. Yeah, so I started woven working with, in the beginning, we started mass sourcing product. So not really having relationships with the artisans, but just pulling product and shipping. And so as the business grew, I guess, in a way, our humanity grew. So I started developing collections for clients, either boutiques in South Africa, boutiques, Pan-African boutiques, and mostly in the Americas. So yeah, we use fashion as a tool to amplify the work of artisans, and just to share the message of sustainable luxury in Ghana. So the business is going well. Right now, we're just transitioning, as you will get used to when you do move to Ghana or do move anywhere. When you're trying to understand the terrain, you have to redo and reform your business model as you go along. So our principles are craft, context, and community. So the craft speaks to luxury, sustainable luxury in Ghana. Context speaks to where we are and how we work with marginalized communities. And then community is scaling and helping them to widen their resale potentials.
Diallo, you there? Okay. Diallo, again, I know when we were talking about the diaspora, they have all these kinds of ideas in their mind about, what it means or what it will look like when they come. And you do some, part of your business is, bringing people to the continent, various countries, and allowing them to experience, what it looks like here. So I'm just curious, before you kind of officially started your business here, you took a little bit of time, before you did that officially, which I think is something that people really don't understand how important it is to do that. Can you speak a little bit about both of those kind of ideas?
Definitely. Thank you. I think first, one of the first things that was important to me was really understanding diaspora and understanding the various nuances that we have in the diaspora. So wanting to begin to try to see us Black people, not necessarily through the eyes of oppression, but from and through our royalty, so to speak, no matter how much cliche it sounds. So understanding that, I'm a little ignorant. So sometimes, I'll say boat Africans versus airplane Africans. So I'm a boat African, right? Because we came over on the boat. But then you have the Africans who came over after who flew.
Wait, I thought you flew. Okay, no, you went, okay, your boat.
My ancestry is a boat African, right?
Okay.
And then also we have individuals who their first time in America, they still can connect to their main village on the continent of Africa. Those are airplane Africans. So number one, realizing that the diaspora is very diverse, right? But the one common element that we have is the soil depending on which part of Africa you come from. So just having a really good understanding of community and a really good understanding of what diaspora means, because there are different idiosyncrasies that happen in London. There are different things that happen in the Caribbean. There are different, we're a little bit different in the US. So that helped me when I finally went to Africa, because I didn't just put everybody under this one panel, like Africa is Africa's, 54 countries. So that's really basic, but it helps people to understand that there are many, 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 many cultures, many, many, many languages. And all of those things tie into when you begin to do business and how business is done in that particular area. I'm sure Viola could say that business may look a little different in the northern region of Ghana than it may in the eastern region of Ghana, where I am, or if it's a heavy Muslim faith in the particular area versus if it's a heavy Christian faith. So that was one of the things that helped me before I kind of got to Africa. But once I started traveling, you're right, it was really important for me to go back and forth as much as I can, to have a very good idea of what the terrain is, and actually to touch and see each part of the whole value chain, specifically when it comes to tourism, right? So understanding what it means to get over there, understanding the business model of flying and working with airlines, understanding the hospitality industry with hotels, understanding the food service industry, understanding, you know, the transportation industry. So all of that kind of helped me to really kind of understand how we were going to do what we were going to do. So last year we were able to do about 750 people back and forth to Ghana, which was incredible, and we learned a lot from it. But I definitely think when you begin to move throughout the African diaspora, and I'm one of those people who believe that if you're Black and you're into business, you know, try to focus on some part of the diaspora. Like, everybody doesn't have to go to Ghana. We need more Black people investing in Trinidad. We need more Black people investing in Jamaica, in Barbados, in Kenya, in South Africa, in Morocco, and, you know, Cameroon. Like, we should just really be taking control of what's ours and re-engaging with the entire diaspora. So I'm sure I probably did not answer your question, but hopefully.
No, that was good. I mean, I think too, that what I kind of wanted to touch on too is that taking that trip is, you know, important. I mean, people have this idea in their mind on how it is or how it is to do business. And first you have to kind of like take some time on the ground. Now, Kevin, I've not been to Trinidad. I've been to Jamaica and Barbados and other islands. And I know one thing, it's very similar to Africa, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, even the look and feel of like Jamaica, I'm always like, God, I feel like I'm in, you know, Ghana. It's very similar. The people, you know, it's very similar. And I'm sure the entrepreneur community, you know, are going through many of the same things. I'm just very interested in the work that you do in terms of valuation and you know, and working with startups on preparing for investment. You know, you hear a lot of entrepreneurs talk about they need more money, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes they don't even really need more money because they ain't ready for the money. Talk to me about this, Kevin.
Yeah, and yeah. And it's good to hear that, you know, the Caribbean looks a lot like Ghana, because I've never been to Ghana, and I've actually never even been to Africa. But
oh, you gotta come. We're gonna see you next year when the borders open.
Yeah. I mean, I just need, you know, somewhere to stay, hopefully. Anyway, so I've spent my career in investment banking and capital raising and lending and investments and all of that. And what we see is that we see everybody is competing to fund the bigger businesses, the established businesses, because those are easy. They're like a slam dunk. But when you look at the small and medium-sized enterprises, you know, they see it as a bigger risk, right? And on the entrepreneur side, they have not really done the work to really position themselves as an investable entity, right? And what is an investable entity? So for us, we see an investable entity as an entity that has these systems in place, that is scalable, that you know, is positioned for sustainable wealth creation. And to do that, you need to have certain systems in place, right? So that was the real impetus behind me founding Become Investable. And I mean, just a few months ago, I decided to leave my full-time job to do the evaluations and focus on building out to become investable, especially on this platform that we're working on.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I don't want you to go away too fast. I'm like, so, you know, what does a company need to do? What are some of those systems? Just give us some points. Most of us are trying to like figure this thing out. You know, we want to reach out to investors, but we need to know what kind of things need to be in place.
Right. Okay. So many times you'd see a small or medium-sized company. You have your financials prepared by a certified accountant, better yet, an auditor. Do you have reasonable projections in place? Because many projections look like this. You know, they just look like, yeah, we're just going to grow 100 times over the next 3 years because our business is fantastic, right? And the next thing is, I mean, I group it into competitive advantage and then, you know, your customer intelligence. So your competitive advantage, how is your business positioned to generate profits in the long term that is in excess of the, let's say, the profit margins of the industry, right? So to do this, you know, you need to have maybe your intellectual property protected. Maybe you don't need to, you need to not be reliant on a certain customer for, let's say, in excess of 10-20% of your revenues. Same thing for suppliers, right? And you need to have your key value proposition set in place. To have those systems in place, so do you have you would have had to identify your ideal customer, right? You would have thought deeply about who you're targeting and how you provide value to those people that you target. Do you have a HR strategy that is in line with your business strategy? Do you have systems for training? Do you have, again, documented policies? So when somebody joins your company, do you have a manual they could read and just off the bat understand, all right, this is how business operates. This is how things operate here in this company. I could fit right in, right? So all of these things just to make it seamless for folks. And then also, I mean, it's not the sexiest, but corporate governance, right? So are you protecting your investors from yourself, from yourself and your team, your board of directors? You know, so how are you managing accountability? How are you evaluating performance of your board of directors and your executive management? And my last thing is, when you're looking at a private company, especially a small and medium-sized company for investment, you want to see that the CEO, the main person, you know, running the business, that they have a significant ownership stake in the company, right? So you see in many publicly traded companies, you know, the CEO may have like less than 1% of the company, and that encourages a lot of short-term thinking, right? So they're thinking, okay, let's get the numbers up just to meet this quarter, right? Because they have all the equity analysts following them and saying, okay, if they miss a quarter, then they're in trouble, and, you know, they may get fired and get a payout. But that's it. That's the extent of their personal risk exposure. However, if you have a CEO that owns a significant stake in the company and you're trying to attract an investor, his risk is your risk, or his risk is probably even more than your risk. You know, so
okay,
that's how we look at them.
And that's key. I mean, whether you're looking for investors or not, I mean, these are just some of the structures that we should be putting in place. And I know as an entrepreneur, I'm like all over the place. I'm handling this, I'm handling that. So I'm looking at the list like, wow, there are things I need to do, right? You know, we got to get our business in order. They cannot grow. We're here talking about business. Guys, our business cannot grow if we don't have some of these things in place. I mean, I'm preaching to myself too. So this is like a non-judgmental sort of rant, but like, guys, we cannot compete on the global scale. We can't even compete on the local scale and grow if we don't have some of these things in place, right? So just have either of you, Viola, Diallo, have you ever tried to get investment? Are you bootstrapping your business? Give me an idea of how you guys are operating.
So funny enough, sorry, Diallo, but funny enough, I think year one, I was approached by a Canadian investor. And, you know, I'm just going to be real. I wasn't ready for the money. I think when we went out to lunch or whatever, and when I was asking him, you know, why do you want to invest in me? And he said it's because of of my personality and my experience with fashion, and he's seen me on the grounds working in certain arenas, or maybe, you know how it is, you have to be at certain business conferences in Ghana to meet that certain person, whether it's you're trying to get a contract for share, whether you're trying to, you know, just trying to get something secured. And so I actually wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for the money. And so I've been bootstrapping from Toronto. I bootstrapped every single dollar, every single city in Pessoa into this business. And I'm proud of it. And I think even now, if I had someone say, okay, here's, you know, 400,000 or even like 4 million, I'd be weary of it, because this did happen to me. I believe woven grow too fast. And sometimes money doesn't solve in my experience, money doesn't solve every problem. I see Sarah saying she had the same experience, but it's the time to train people the way I was trained. overseas, right? Not to say it's a superior training, it's just a different level, it's a different type of training. So yeah, I have been approached, and I said no. I still converse with the person as well, you know. But I bootstrapped every single dollar. I don't know about you, Diallo, but
yeah,
Oh,
I think. Wait, hold on, Diallo. I just wanted to point out something. I think even when you look on the list of what investors are looking for, the founder is key. There are some people who invest just because they like the founder. I mean, they don't even care about anything else. They just are like, you are a winner. Whatever you are doing, I'm going to help you get there. So that's something else key that people should, just begin to understand too. But they'll be like, how did he get the money? My business is doing, way better, yeah, but he's kind of got a star personality. He got the gift of gab, you know what I mean? So it's all these different things. It's never just one thing. So sorry, I just wanted to touch on that because that's something that we see a lot in the kind of like startup and SME world. Diallo.
No, I was just going to say, I think Kevin was so on point. And what Kevin talked about is what I call real business. So I've been in this transition for myself of saying, okay, you've done a lot of things, but you haven't done real business yet. And you need to get to real business. And by real business, I mean, and I've been doing a lot of this research this year. So interestingly enough, at the top of the year, I decided to take the first quarter off just to do research and really begin to look at what it is that I'm doing. Is it scalable? Is it sustainable? And things like that. So, I looked at, okay, how many people came to Ghana last year? I realized you can't bring everybody to Ghana, but if 1.5 million people are traveling, then how can you gain a greater ownership of the whole value chain? So what products can you create that don't require you to physically or have people physically in place? So putting those systems in place, like I didn't go to business school. So just like literally learning what valuation is. One of my favorite podcasts is How I Built This on NPR, listening to how other business owners created their business, looking at how to scale my business, so all of those things I'm actually doing now. And I think like Viola said, sometimes money isn't the problem. I was taught by one of my mentors that, the first thing that you do is you sell yourself, get people interested in who you are as the visionary and leader, and then you sell your company. So then now people understand you, they understand what your core principles are, and now you can sell your company. And then once you have people bought into your company, you can almost put out any product or service and they'll be more likely to want to invest or become a customer because they followed you through this chain. So I'm bootstrapping. I appreciate having 100% ownership right now. And another one of my mentors told me, don't ask for money if you're not ready for it. And when you ask, make sure it's a lot of it, because anybody who's interested in making money with you and doing real business, if you ask them for a relatively small amount of money, they know you just wanted to play around, So if you're not asking for a $250,000, 500,000 or a few million, and you're not able to line up exactly what you're going to do with that money, how it's going to be spent, how you'll make it back, because you can do $1 million or 2 or 3, you can deal with numbers like that alone while you're playing around and not doing real business. But if you really want to scale up and have a 10, 20, $100 million business, then you really have to get serious about your systems. You have to get serious about how you evaluate it, your processes. So I've spent much of 2020 researching just so I can understand some of this myself, right? And being okay with bootstrapping, like Viola says, because I'm okay. And it's not something that I feel like, oh, I have to hit this by the end of 2020, or I have to hit this by the end of 2021. It's a long-term 10, 15 year kind of thing where I'm looking at, okay, I'm also looking at legacy. I also want to make sure that as I build, I have somebody that's building with me who can take over so I can retire early and be a chicken farmer or something. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so it's really, I think what he said was just on point. I got his website up looking at it right now. Right. Because I see myself as being one of those stories. Like, tell us how you got this $500 million investment. And I want to be able to say that, well, I did these things. The last thing I'll say is I saw a quote that said, you know, success is not happenstance. People who you see and deem successful are successful as a result of a series of streamlined processes and strong discipline. And, you know, and I think for us in the diaspora, as Black people in general, we really have to get better with making sure we're all doing real business with each other first, you know, and the outside world, so that we can scale up and have more, you know, Black multimillionaires and billionaires that are connected to community development as well. Because for me, it goes hand in hand. So I'm not just interested in recolonizing Africa or recolonizing any other Black community by, you know, making 2,000% profit if I can, without actually being able to put some of that back into the community and help other people build themselves up as well.
Okay, all right, thank you for that.
Muhammada, can I say something actually?
Okay, yes.
Yeah, Diallo, I loved what you said. And I think it was an assumption that, actually, and Kevin as well, it was an assumption that I had, okay, I have my financial projections. I have everything that my former bosses overseas taught me in terms of running their companies or running their stores. In Ghana, you know, I find there's not enough talk about how to, the nuance of the, and even between different cities in Ghana, how to do business, whether you're the relationship between men and women, no one really talks about in terms of business and business only, in terms of negotiating. Like there's so many things that haven't, maybe Muhammada, you should do a case study, because there are real ground things that you can't really explain until, let's say, Sarah Boateng from the chat, unless she comes to Ghana and you're literally in the position to say, this is how you should have dealt with this. Or when you go to the Ministry of whatever, and maybe you're getting a pushback, or maybe you feel like, oh, this is not the way it should have run, or I wouldn't have had this in New York, I would have had this in Toronto. You have to understand how Ghana works first. You cannot just come with a finance, you cannot come with a heavy operational package and think it's gonna, sorry, not package, I meant to say system, and think it's gonna just be smooth in Ghana. And I don't mean just because it's Ghana, I mean just because it's a different nation than what you're used to. And it's totally different from women than it is from, maybe not totally, but it's very different experience for women than it is from men. Whether you have an uncle who knows someone, or whether you're just maybe someone from the diaspora in general with no connections to Ghana or no connections to Nigeria or anybody in the West, and you're just trying to make it, I think it needs to be documented. And I'm sure maybe somebody on this call has done it. I haven't done it, but the real actual experiences that we go through, and you're just trying to produce a product, you know, you're not trying to save the world. But it can be very hard. It can be very hard because we are all, for those of us who are raised outside, we're all wired a certain way. Whereas in Ghana, it's a different type of social development. And so you're going to be encountering systems that are maybe locked for certain groups of people. In Ghana can sometimes be a boys' club in that way. But yeah, I think it's all good to have systems, but there are things that a business plan cannot teach you. You have to actually come to Ghana and experience it for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely important. You have to have that just in terms of like having your business, you know, wanting to have it done a certain kind of way, and then understanding that you're going to have to make a lot of adjustments, right? There are things that happen here. Like every month we have to pay taxes, right? This is not done online. Like you have to physically go to the Ghana Revenue Authority once a month and spend like a day. I mean, I'm talking in 2020, I just still can't understand. I'm like, there's no way that we can pay this electronically in 2020. Like I can't pay my Social Security tax every month electronically in this year, 2020. Like, yeah, so like, it's the future and the past all in one mashup. But before anybody else says anything, I see another of our panelists. Harrison, welcome.
So, hello.
Okay, I invited Harrison to be on the panel just because I want you to talk a little bit about your business, but I think sometimes when we think about, you know, setting up businesses, we're always thinking about these like mega things, you know, and sometimes there's just like small things that we all love from home or from outside. You know, like when you come to any emerging market, there's so many things that are needed, right? It's just somebody has to think of it and start it and do it. So Harrison is the owner of Pizza Guy. which is a pizza company here in Accra. So Harrison, please tell us a little bit about your business. Is it something that you were doing in the US before you came back to Ghana? You know, just walk us through a little bit about it.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you guys. I really appreciate it. I mean, I came back about 5 years ago. It was not a plan for me to do pizza. It was not something I was doing back in the States, but I just had to figure something to get into, you know what I mean? And I mean, at the end of the day, I figured like a good product out here and consistency sometimes lacks in a lot of places. I grew up in Ghana. Some of the best watching places still make the best watching places, but they cannot scale it to the next level because when the mom passes or the auntie starts making it, nobody's willing to carry on that mantle, even though she was able to send her kids to school and feed everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't look attractive for the younger generation, you know what I mean? And also, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was not an easy journey because I didn't start with a whole lot of money, but it was a learning process for me because there was times where I lost and I could have just been like, let me close up shop, but I had to keep pushing. And then friends and family support was definitely necessary to get me to the level that I am now.
Well, talk a little bit just about your business. Tell us a little bit about the business that you have.
Okay, so Pizza Guy pretty much, man, just came up out of conversation. And you guys gotta excuse me, I'm not really used to talking to people, so I'm even hot to sweat right now. But you know, like it just came out of conversation. Like there was not really a good place to have a good quality pizza. And through that, I did a little bit of research. And then we just started going bit by bit. We started at Sandbox. And then from Sandbox, we started moving from different places, doing different events, and just kept pushing it like that. And now we have our own shop in East Legon. And we just hoping to move to the next step, which is opening other branches in different areas.
Did you bring equipment and stuff from the US? Did you find all of it here that you needed?
I got everything from here. The ovens I use are local. The supply chain is the most difficult part of it. Like the supply of cheese, oh my God, and pepperoni. These are some of the things that, so I try to adapt more local ingredients with our pizza. So sometimes we don't have it. It doesn't become a big hindrance to the process. Right. So we try to adapt more of the local ingredients that we have access to with some of the stuff that we have from outside. Okay. All
right. Thank you. I think that was, I mean, again, I want people to see just like a wide range of businesses, you know, that you can look into. This is something that actually could be scaled, you know, like we look at Starbucks and McDonald's, you know, the Wendy's, whatever the world's biggest chains. And you're like, how did they start? It started like this, right? This is a business that, you know, when people from outside look at, you know, what kinds of things can I invest in? These are the kinds of people that are here on the panel that we should be, you know, investing in, helping them grow their businesses. So we'll come back to that. I have another one of our panelists here on the panel. I'm here, I see Roberta Annan. Welcome, Roberta. We spoke with, I think you guys, Miss Kevin gave us like this breakdown of like, you know, what SMEs and entrepreneurs need to be doing to become investable, you know, just getting their systems in place. I know you work with a lot of, you know, investing in entrepreneurs and local ecosystems. Talk to us a little bit about what you look for, you know, what type of creatives, you know, what makes you as an investor say, you're a founder or a business that I want to invest in?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the opportunity. I was struggling a bit to log in, so thanks for your patience. But yeah, so my space has been in the creative industries. I've been dedicated to this place, this sector since 2014 when I structured a foundation that was focused on investing, supporting, and providing infrastructure to fashion. That has kind of evolved into what we're now putting together, which is a creative arts fund that is looking at the entire gamut of creativity. Now, what we look out for is, we believe that creativity is an abundance on the continent. So there's a lot of talent, but what often is missing is infrastructure. So we like to look at businesses that are willing to accept us stepping in. So when we basically invest, and then we also take a seat on the board, a board seat on the company, to ensure that there's also a lot of hand holding and support in building that infrastructure that is needed. And when I talk infrastructure, I'm not talking about physical infrastructure like roads and all that. I'm talking about business infrastructure. So putting a proper business plan in place, intellectual property, especially when you're creative, you need to look at things like IP, how to protect your work so that you can gain, even if that work is going into other markets. So you earn from royalties. So these are all things that we need to address, how to have legal framework within your business. So, how to be tax compliant. You have to be quite strategic in how you manage your business. And I think oftentimes the perception of actually having business structure and the reality is quite, there's a huge disparity when you come here on the continent, because people tend to go into business without really having that skill set to run a business. And you see that a lot within the creative sector, where there's lack of, that infrastructure. So sometimes you need to bring in an external partner who really has that understanding of a business, so that you can focus more as the creative on the creative part, which is your forte. So we look at things like that. And I also like to look at people that have a long-term commitment to wealth creation rather than just making money overnight. And with social media and technology, we often see a lot, of people's achievements, but we are also, a lot of entrepreneurs don't want to walk in the shoes of those people who have achieved, because it's, it's a lot of dedication, hard work, perseverance, a lot of failures. I've gone through that journey where, I've failed in businesses that I started, and I've learned from that experience. It's made me tougher, more resilient. And in fact, I do fundraising. So it's normally 9 no's before a yes. You have to develop that thick skin to be able to deal with that, and not always take the no's, as a personal thing. And then, you lose confidence because you're always getting rejected. So these are all things that we look at, people that are willing to accept criticism in a very positive way, are able to take advice, able to package themselves in a way. So normally when we don't even invest in businesses, we still offer business support and advice. And we put them back into a pool, and when there's another opportunity, we may even pick some of the businesses that didn't make the cut. I'll give you a few examples. So I did a partnership with Vogue Italia. It's called Scouting for Africa, where we had, over 200 applicants that applied. And of course, we have to select 2. We're just going to unveil the winners in September. But even the finalists, we had about 10 finalists that I just, spoke to the team at Vogue Italia and said, I still want to mentor these guys to ensure that they actually gain the support that they need to be able to apply for the next round. So, so I don't always leave the pool behind. I always create a platform to be able to engage. And we also have a women's stimulus fund that we launched in response to COVID, because we realized that a lot of women, female-led businesses are struggling. And in Ghana, I believe we are 46%. I think we're the #1 in the world for female entrepreneurs. A lot of female entrepreneurs lack the financial capacity to actually, sustain the business. And of course, with COVID, things have been extremely difficult. So we needed to create a stimulus package to address these. We're not like wealthy individuals, but we decided to do something because we realized the potential here. And there's so many brilliant ideas that need funding to just, thrive. And we needed to step in to do that. So this is a partnership between the Women's Empowerment Investment Group and GUBA. and my company, we decided to do that. And we're looking at supporting 100 female-led businesses in Ghana with small micro grants and also business support. So, you know, again, just to come back to you, I'm really dedicated to supporting, because I've gone through that journey where I needed funding and no bank would loan to me. You know, it was extremely difficult. And I had to build the business from scratch, and everything grew organically. So I really understand the challenges that entrepreneurs face, and I want to be a solution for that challenge.
Okay, thank you so much. At first it seemed like we had all this time, but now we don't have a lot of time. We're going to hear from Michael, and then we'll see how much time we have left for some questions. Michael, are you there? I saw you there for a second. Welcome, this is Michael Griffith from Ashanti Produce. I definitely want to hear, Michael, just a little bit about your journey. I know you have so much, you know, history to talk about, but we're going to keep it concise, because like you can have your own panel, right? When we talk about agriculture, right? This is something we hear, like that is the future. You know, and you know, especially when you're coming from outside, you're like, how do I do it? How do I get into this? Michael, tell us a little bit about Ashanti Produce, you know, how you got started and what you've been able to achieve since coming to the continent.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. Well, you know, first of all, let me just say real quickly that agriculture in Africa is the most important topic that we're talking about as far as sustainability, food security. That is, like, to me, number one. Just a quick background about me. I was a 2012 Marketplace Diaspora winner for USAID. I had the first organic certificate to bring organic pineapples, which is in Ghana, to the United States. My biggest customer was Whole Foods. I had all the Whole Food stores in the southern region, Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina, Tennessee, Florida. And from that standpoint, I've been in the agricultural, you know, platform. Right now, I'm working on a project in reference to helping sustain and building rights in Africa, period. One of the biggest problems that Africa has is it has a wildlife problem. Birds is probably the number one enemy to rice sustainability in Africa. I'm sure a lot of people probably know that. And what I've done, basically, I'm into solving a lot of problems. And one of the biggest things that I've been able to do is to get a patent product to help keep birds off of rice. We've been pretty much at this project for about 1.5 years now. And right now we've been able to increase the rice yields about 69% in Ghana. So we were able to substantiate this, and we're still, you know, working out some of the details right now. So this product actually is approved, EPA approved in Ghana, EPA approved in the United States. And what the product basically does is that it helps to keep the birds off them by a product called AQ, anthraquinone. Now, anthraquinone basically is every photosynthesis plant has AQ in it. And so AQ basically is the ingredient to help the plant reach maturity. So that's a natural, God-given, you know, sustainable thing that the plants have. Like if you take a berry, if you see a green berry or a green grape or something like that, right before it becomes ripe and mature, it's giving off AQ. So it will help the actual product become to maturity again. So this company in the United States patented this product, and they gave my company, Ashanti Produce, API, the rights to Africa. So again, we've been in Ghana right now working on this product, and I'm telling you, it's working wonderfully right now. So, and that's one of the biggest things that we know, and a lot of people know, that Ghana and Africa actually imports a lot of rice from Asia into the continent. And then we're talking about billions and billions of dollars. So with that being said, last year, Ghana alone imported about $800 million in rice last year alone. And so the country, basically, the president has this program in reference to, you know, getting food security and getting the sustainability up of the rice. So we've been able to, again, increase that production. And so from that standpoint, that's the main project. And that project is called Reclaim the Grain in Africa, Reclaim the Grain.
Okay.
So, and that's the gist of the program. And so where we are, we've been, pretty successful so far. And we're moving it right along.
Okay. Thank you. Wow. So we covering the gamut of different types of businesses here. We don't have a lot of time left, but I want to talk about the importance of partnership and collaboration, right? Especially when you come, Kevin, I guess, even though you're an advisor, you're also an entrepreneur at the same time. Let's just speak a little bit, especially when you come to a new country, a new market to do business. How did you go about your partners? How did you go about, the people that you are doing collaborations with? I think that is so key. That can help you save a lot of time and a lot of money, a lot of heartbreak. So if we can just be, and to be actually, in all honesty, that's really how we're going to grow, right? It's like knowledge share and, and those kinds of things. So as we kind of close things out, I want to talk to everybody, just talk to us about the kinds of partnerships and collaborations that you do.
Okay, great. Yeah, for sure. The best book I've ever read, at least recently, is this book called Key Person of Influence, right? And it follows this 5-step method to becoming a key person of influence in your industry, right? And the last step of becoming a key person of influence is to create partnerships. But the partnerships, it won't work for you, it won't provide value to the other people unless you cover the other piece. So what are the other piece? The first things first is that you need to have your pitch in place. You need to concisely be able to articulate what is your value proposition for your business. The next thing is you need to productize your service. So if you have a service, you need to find a way of creating it, of turning it into a product. Otherwise, it's just it is good for a conversation, right? The third thing you need to do, you need to be publishing. You need to be putting out information to the public or to people or your target audience on what it is you're doing. Here's how to solve these problems. This a big problem for a lot of people is, all right, I'm a small business and I can't get funding. Right. And then you also want to think about how you're going to build your profile. So you want to get in front of the right people, right? In right audiences, like this audience, for example, right? And then after you covered all of that, you get to partnerships. So how did I go about partnerships, especially as a digital entrepreneur, I would say, because most of my business is online, right? LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah. No, LinkedIn. So after you cover the first four, what you need to reach out to people on LinkedIn. You build a good profile, you reach out to people, and then I'm here because somebody recommended me. You know what I mean? So it's really, everything all comes down. I guess a 6P is positioning. So it's all about positioning.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Viola, let's talk to us about you do a lot of collaborations with your artisans, but have there other kind of business partnerships, collaborations that have been helpful for you?
Yeah, so I think on the artisan side, it'd be mostly securing global, I guess, contracts in retail stores, but also because I'm a design-led social enterprise, I want to really focus on the design portion of training. And so I connect with NGOs who deal with, food, shelter, clothing, and helping our artisans live more of a sustainable life. But also on the other side, in terms of retail, luxury retail, I help brands secure partnerships. Let's say that there was a brand that had a really great product. She or he had the financial projections. Everything on paper was great. We help get them into stores like Macy's, or a Canadian version of Macy's is a boutique called Holt Renfrew. So I use both arms in different ways because there's a need for our products to be out there. I want to see our products on shelves. And then also product like, let's say for our baskets, let's say I wanted to use a sustainable leather. So whether it's a leather made of pineapple or leather made of coconut skins. So I would source, if there's a startup or even an established company that was producing in Ethiopia and Italy, wherever the person was. I need your product to help my product. So we do partnerships on many different levels because it's necessary. And you're still trying to build your ecosystem. It's an ongoing process. It's not like you've come and you've done it. It's an ongoing process.
Okay. Thank you.
No, Muhammad, I'm gonna tell a quick story. I think the first company I made to partner with is South African Airlines, and even though they're going through some troubles right now, I realized that it would benefit me to have an airline partner. And when I realized, like, hey, I'm about to be spending like $150,000 with this company this year, so I literally just sent an email, started calling for partnerships, and I said, I'm going to spend $150,000 with you all this year. I know that's a drop in the bucket, considering your annual volume, but I think it deserves a call back. Somebody called me back. And it was really a relationship with the North American regional partner director, who we literally sat down and had lunch. And she had to kind of see my face and hear my story. And then when she did, she went back and convinced her higher ups, hey, we need to partner with this guy. Like, I really think he's going to be doing some fabulous things. This was a year before the year of return. So when the year of return hit, I told him, I was like, see, if y'all would have listened, y'all could have been the official airline and done more business. But then it allowed me to kind of grow in and with and through that company, through this one older white Italian lady who connected with me on a strange conversation about her son who loved hip hop. Like, it was kind of crazy, but when you have relationships with your business, you really have to understand the value that you bring and what it is that you're looking for, because sometimes you just can get caught up with nice meetings and a lot of fluffy talk, but you really also have to understand, what is the value that I'm bringing to this business? What is it worth to me? What is it that I need them for? And to be very clear that it is business. It's not just a friendship. So making sure that you know exactly what you want out of it and that you can deliver to this partner or collaborator what it is that you promised that you could deliver. So for me, it's really a process, like relationships. I think I was listening to another panel today, and somebody mentioned that it should be long-term. I'm looking for long-term partners and collaborators who see the big vision. And when it's somebody who I may be dealing with for a short amount of time, I'm very clear that we're partnering, collaborating for this particular thing. And after this 6 months, I need to reevaluate if we'll continue. So I think really being clear about your value and what it is that you're looking for and how that partnership really helps you achieve one of your inline goals. Like, you really just have to be clear about it.
Okay. I mean, I took a couple of things that I took away from that. And Kevin also mentions this too, is the pitch, right? When the pitch and the founder, it all goes back to that. That's, two strong founders or pitches or whatever coming together is going to be beneficial for everybody. So Harrison, talk to me about some partnerships and, how you collaborate, locally to grow the pizza guy.
Pizza guy.
Okay, for me, it was easier for me to adjust because remember I said I grew up here. I went to high school and stuff here, and I also went to school in the States and stuff. So when I came back starting a business, it was easier to get some of my colleagues that are doing different things in banking to help me get some things set up. So, I mean, as far as that partnership wise, like, it was easier for me to get that from, my networks over here. But like, also, when I go out, I try to make new partnerships, meet new people that are here, also trying to find something to do. You know what I mean? They're looking for something to get into. So, I mean,
you mean investment-wise?
Investment-wise, or just want to an idea of what to get into. You know what I mean? But it's just being able to just be honest with people and just tell people the truth. Like, it's not easy. You get what I mean? But you have to surround yourself with the right people, because people will take advantage of you very young. You know what I mean? And it's not their fault because it's the economics, it's the environment they're in. But I think it's very important to surround yourself with the right people when you come around, or look for the right people to do business with.
Yeah. Right. I'm sure some people are like, oh my God, I wish I would have known this like a few $100,000 or CDs ago.
it's very important that, like, even if you want to come to Ghana to do business, just try to think back to somebody you went to school with that's from Ghana or from Nigeria, somebody that you know from, you're familiar with, you've seen before, you know something about them, and try to go from there to grow your business or to get the resources that you need. You know what I mean? As opposed to going online and finding somebody on face value that might mislead you, you know what I mean, and find out your bank account is empty. So,
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roberta, I know you do a lot of partnerships. I mean, you just dropped a few just bombs on us. You're like Vogue Italia and da-da-da. I mean, and again, it all goes back to the pitch and the founder, right? It's what you're pitching and it's you. People like you. I mean, I'm sure half the things that people invested, they don't even know what you're talking about. They're like, we just like this lady. But talk to me about some of the partnerships and collaborations that you've done and that you're working on.
Yeah, I think it's you know, the saying that your net worth is your net work. So that is something that I've actually, it defines everything that I have done. My career has always been about my network. So I started my career at the United Nations, where I was doing fundraising. I built a huge network with ultra high net worth individuals and family offices. Those became my clients when I left the UN to start my business. And because I didn't really go into finance, you know, like the traditional way, like, you know, I studied science. So I have a biochem and biotech educational background, worked in development, and have always been passionate about development finance. So it was inevitable for me to go into that field, right? But I didn't go through the traditional route. So I needed to partner with people who understood finance. So the first thing that I did when I set up my company, I was advising people on, especially family offices, on how to structure their philanthropy, their giving, impact investing. This is my forte and this is my expertise from the UN. But then I started getting a lot of requests by the same clients for wealth management. And I had no expertise in wealth management. So what I needed to do was to partner with an established organization that knew how to do that. So partnerships and my business started growing that way. And then we added another step to it. We did a partnership with the Ethical Fashion Initiative, for instance, on an accelerator. We've done a lot with United Nations Environment Program. I have a partnership with a huge investment bank called Fieldstone on infrastructure and advisory and energy advisory, because that's also another skill set that I didn't have. So what I have done throughout my company is to keep a very lean operation, because, you know, being on your own and being an entrepreneur is quite expensive. And, you know, if you start putting in a lot of resources on getting a huge team and, you know, sometimes we kind of get a bit caught up in that because we're dealing with high net worth individuals. We think we have the same budget, but we really don't. So what I have done is I always keep a very lean operation, and I lean on the expertise of my partners. So it looks like I'm actually doing a lot, but in every partnership and every deal I'm doing, I'm not the only person there. I always have a team that is from the other partner, and they cover the cost of that. But then we always find a way to split. It means you're going to make less because you're going to split fees with other people, but it's okay, you know, to partner with other people. So it's very important. Partnerships is key. You have to always make sure that you pick the right people that have a similar mindset to yours, like Harrison was saying. Sometimes your network, even the people like Viola, we've talked about so many things, and we've different projects, and we kind of work in the same ethical fashion space. So I'm pretty sure there will be collaboration in that sense, and we know each other, and we were referred to each other by a friend in Canada. Harrison, I've known since New York, you know, so it's like, and we're all here on this panel, and we have our individual journeys, but I'm sure at some point we can all collaborate on a project. That's the beauty of it.
Michael, are you still with us? You are working with farmers and the government. Like, I mean, how did this all happen? You know, just, what kind of partnerships and what partners do you have here on the ground and how did you find them? I think that's one of the questions people always want to know, like, what do I do when I get there? How did you kind of like partner with people? How did you find out what farmers to go to? How did how did you do that kind of, the partnerships, I'm sure must have been very, very key for your business.
Yeah, well, I consider myself very lucky when it comes to partnership because I came to Ghana in 1996, I think it was. Yeah, when I first started, I think 1995. So I actually got in contact with a colleague of mine, and I've been knowing him since 1996, since I got there. And from that standpoint, it's just being on the ground. And being in Africa and being over there and developing relationships. I think that's probably one of the key components. You can start off by, developing relationships by way of email, but I think the most important thing is to be on the ground. You have to be there. You have to be face to face with people. I'm you know me, Muhammida, I'm in Africa every month. I'm there every single month. So before COVID hit, I have a place in Osu and I'm there every single month. So, but it's key to be able to be on the ground, to develop the strong relationships. And it's funny because you have to be able to get in front of people and feel their spirit. I want to add this component that's a very important component when it comes to business. Yes, we can be the smartest people. We can have degrees from Harvard, Princeton, Yale, wherever we can be. But there's nothing that can do our spiritual intellect and our intellect in ourselves. And sometimes you just have to you have to get to know people. You have to be around people to know they're not good business people. I've had my spills with bad business associates, but I think that's a part of the learning curve. That's a part of the landscape to be a good business, successful business entrepreneur. I think that one of the key ingredients in order to be successful is failure. You're going to go through that. You're never going to be able to eliminate that. And that's to me, that's part of your growth process. It's a part of who we are. It's a part of what makes us, successful as we go along. And then as we develop ourselves, we get very sharp with that, being able to distinguish who's good people who are not good people. But going back to the reference to the farmers, and this is one of I think probably the most important lessons that I've ever learned in reference to, developing, the farmer aspect and, being a good business person. The farmers who you may not think that are smart, they are very smart. These people are they've been on their land for ages, for generations, if you will. I never get to a point where I think I know more than the farmer itself. To me, the farmer is the expert. He's going to know the land. It's up to us to help them establish, whatever type of needs they need, because again, they may not have the financial aspects. They may not have certain things, but they do have the expertise, they got the drive, and they got the spirit. So I think that's probably one of the most important key elements that I've learned in reference to be an African-American who's coming into an area where, you got, what we say, poor farmers or whatever the case may be. I don't like to use that term, poor farmers, I say rich farmers. But the biggest thing that I would actually say, and, God given, we have to really appreciate their talent. And I think that, my farmers taught me literally how to be a great, pineapple farmer. But then what I did was take what the farmers have done and show it to, my prospective customers, and even from USDA. They're going to tell me what are the requirements coming in or out, but the farmer is going to tell me how to raise that pineapple. Now, the USDA going to tell me, well, it can't have bugs on it. It's got to look this way. It's got to look that way. But that farmer is going to do exactly what you tell him to do. So my key component is, respect that farmer, trust that farmer, and let him be the expert that he is. And with my, expertise as far as me being a businessman and an entrepreneur, it goes hand in hand and it goes collectively together. So the respect goes, across the board, again, from the rice farmers to the pineapple farmer to whoever he is, he's an expert in my eyes. And I rely on him very much, very much.
Thank you. I think you brought out some gems, right? Definitely, I would say the humility, that's basically what you explained, the humility that you have doing business with people here on the continent. Let me tell you, you will not survive. You will not survive if you don't have that. You will not survive, right? I mean, what he talked about, the spirituality, what that means is people in any indigenous place you go in the world, any indigenous place, because they're connected to the land, they have a certain kind of intuition, right? So when they see you in person, it's like they're feeling your energy vibe or something, and they're gonna instantly determine what kind of person you are. They're gonna know instantly, right? So I think that's something that happens, especially when you're coming from outside and you want to do business and you want to collaborate and you want to partner. Man, if you think you know it all, if you're coming like that, they will shut you down.
That is so true. That is so true. You have to be humble. And the reality is that with that humility goes a long way. And then again, the universe, God himself kind of helps you out. And I can honestly say I've been fairly lucky that I haven't had these big major problems. I mean, I think the humility aspect dealing with, my brothers and sisters and the farmer aspects, they help me and they help me learn and to learn from them. You'd be surprised. You go into these big corporations and I'm selling this pineapple or rice, whatever the case may be, and the farmer has given me so many gems to be able to sell this product because of what they know. And it's even to this point that we may not know. I mean, you go into the Carribean, whether it be in Jamaica, wherever you go. You know what I'm saying? The people and the land. I mean, they really connected. They're really connected. And if you can't connect, then you're not going to be a good business person. I don't care how much education you have. I don't care even if you got money. If you got money, your money gonna burn up. They're gonna take advantage of it. And the reality is you'll waste a lot of it. But sometimes, when you get to that farmer and you get to those folks and those indigenous people, man, if you ain't got the humility, you ain't going nowhere. It's kind of like, for example, you go in front of the chief, and the chief, you gotta bring drinks. Man, listen, if you ain't bringing a strong drink, you ain't getting nothing. Let's be honest. You're not getting nothing if you're not bringing a strong drink. So you better dig in there and get a nice bottle of scotch. Because if you don't have a bottle of scotch, we can't even talk. Right. So, that's the humility aspect. And I've been, so successful with that. And, I've been able to really, manifest into some really powerful, relationships. I've newly been appointed as the honorary consul to the country of Namibia for the state of Delaware, the tri-state, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. And just that alone, just having that humility and being able to be appointed as the consulate, that gives me so much platform. So I have a lot of, instruments in my toolbox. I can pull out so many different things. And so, with that being alone, you're able to sit in front of presidents. I'm able to sit in front of prime ministers, and that humility aspect kind of goes a long way, Yes, I want to say thank you to the ScaleUp team, Olivia and Ama. You guys did an amazing job. I know this was no easy feat, putting this all together. I'm glad to support you guys in any way and just, again, keep this diaspora together and keep it growing. So thanks, everyone.